In the last episode, I spent about 2 months putting my turbo EG hatch back together after a pretty bad crash. I decided to reuse a lot of the old parts, even though they were a little bit smashed up and bent. So today, we're gonna be finding out what's still wrong with the car, what needs to be fixed, taking it out for its first drive, and prepping the car for the drag strip so we can finally get back out and try to break into the 10s on this stock GSR turbo setup. I'm so excited to get this thing out to the track. Lastly, new merch finally available on www.earneverything.shop. Link in the description down below. We deserve nothing, earn everything. Let's get started. We have to deal with two things before we can take this car on the street, see if it drives straight, and potentially do a little pull. Obviously, I'm not gonna do a pull if it doesn't drive straight. Thing number one is the car is leaking coolant. Now, this was a big thing I was worried about when reusing the bent up and smashed up radiator from the crash. But fortunately, I've located the leak and it is not a challenging fix at all. Here's the upper radiator hose connecting into the radiator. That's not having any issues. The radiator cap is just fine. Overflows just fine, but where the lower radiator hose connects to the radiator, it is leaking. Let me show you why. The hose clamp that I chose to use is just the factory compression clamp, and it is definitely not sealing well enough. So I'm gonna go ahead, instead of draining all the coolant, I'm just gonna pinch the clamp, move it out of the way, and then put a worm gear clamp onto the radiator hose. The next thing that we have to do is a boost leak test. Obviously, the car sustained quite a bit of damage to the intercooler piping and the intercooler itself, and I've made some modifications to the piping using a silicone coupler to make a 90-degree bend way down there by the radiator. It used to all be one piece. So I'm gonna go ahead and connect my homemade boost leak tester, which I will show you guys right now. This is what it looks like. It's just an air compressor hose fitting, threaded and Honda bonded into a PVC cap, into a PVC coupler, which then I stick onto, yeah, you'll see. Okay, now I'm gonna go set my air compressor to about 10-ish PSI, maybe 10 or 12 PSI, and hook it straight up to this coupler. All right, it's a little bit more than 10 PSI, but let's give it a shot. A lot of leakage right here. Feeling air over here too. Intercooler sounds pretty good. Let's get the loudest ones first. For sure here. Oh yeah, that's not even tight. All right, I'd say that boost leak is fixed. Oh dude, they're not even tight. I thought I got them pretty tight with my drill. Well, good thing this isn't a charge pipe. All right, let's see. Will it pop off? Most likely, but good shot. Well, that's good news, actually. The fact that it's popping off tells me that it is building sufficient boost. It is building sufficient pressure within the system, whereas it wasn't before. That's really cool. I would say it's time to put the filter back on, put this baby on the ground, take it out for its first drive. Officially the first time that I am driving the EG since I crashed it. We're literally just gonna go up and down the street right now, see if it tracks straight, make sure the brakes still work. If all goes well, we'll take it out on a little bit further of a drive after that. A couple things I want to verify before we take off is that every single gear goes into gear, because if you remember in the last episode, I replaced the trans case. I also want to make sure that the brakes work, so we just did a quick start and stop, and now we are on our way. I'm checking to make sure that the car is tracking straight and to make sure it's not pulling in any which way when I lift off the steering wheel. Steering seems mostly good. Yep. Well, it didn't blow up, so that's good. Things I'm looking for during this check are coolant leaks, oil leaks, charge pipes being cracked off, any other damage that I might not have noticed while I was fixing the car. Is the traction bar still intact? Is the radiator still on the traction bar? Is my intercooler still in place? Is the brake line that I replaced leaking any brake fluid? Lots of things to look over here. Looking good! I'm feeling pretty confident in it, and I kind of want to take it for a longer drive, and I know just the spot. As I'm going on this drive, I can't help but think about the crash. This is really my first real cruise in this car since I crashed it. I've never crashed a car like that before. It was very scary. And every time I find myself thinking about the crash, it really stresses me out, as it should. It was bad, and I learned a lot from it. So there was only one place to take the car on its first long drive, and that was the car wash. Water renews, so let's start fresh. Time to really put my hard work to the test and see if the EG will survive the highway, see if it will survive high speeds, and see if it will survive one good hard first gear, second gear pull. Pleasantly surprised, boys, I'm not gonna lie. Let's get her back home. We made it back. Let's do a quick check. Oh my god. Okay. Everything's still there. Don't see oil. I see some oil, but that's normal. It's always there. Not bad. Little drip of oil right there, nothing major. Unfortunately, we have a little bit of a situation on our hands right now. I'm supposed to leave for the track in like 3 or 4 hours, and everything has been going great with the car up until my drive back over here to the garage a couple minutes ago. I got a check engine light for coolant over temp condition, which means that the car was overheating. I pulled up the Honda app on my phone, and it was reading at a peak of 215 degrees Fahrenheit. That's getting really hot, guys. I pulled the car in, and I noticed immediately the radiator fan wasn't working. So I did a little bit of investigating. I unplugged it, plugged it back in, didn't fix it, didn't make it work any better. And then when I was looking from up top, I noticed a little kink in the wire. All I did was just pinch the wire slightly and wiggle it, and then the radiator fan kicked on. So thankfully, I have found the reason for overheating very quickly. I just need to make a little wiring repair to the radiator fan wire. I'm gonna wait till this thing cools off a little bit, and in the meantime, I'm gonna get everything ready to go for the track. I have to bring a ton of stuff with me because I am driving this car to the track to try to go 10s. I'm leaving for the track today. Slicks are aired up. They're aired up to just about 20 PSI. But at the track, I'll be running them around 6.5 to 7 PSI. This little red toolbox right here actually used to be my only toolbox, and I used to do all of my projects, including engine swaps and turbo kit fabrication and install, with only the tools in this little box. I guess what I'm trying to say is, don't think you need to spend $1,000 on tools to be able to build cars. You guys can do it with whatever you got in your garage, maybe a few more Harbor Freight trips, and you're good to go. But this little toolbox, it's like my favorite thing ever. Not sponsored by any means whatsoever, but I will leave a link to it in the description down below if you guys want to get started. Socket set right here. That's it. That was my whole kit when I started YouTube. It's everything I had. I'm gonna be bringing my electrical toolkit as well, just in case we have any problems like I just had with the radiator fan, who knows? I bring this with me almost everywhere as well. Soldering iron, wire, crimp connectors, wire strippers. But I'm gonna be using this right now to fix those wires, so we're gonna take this back. Bits and attachments. Next is my custom made headlight intake. This thing made 40 extra horsepower on the dyno with no tuning changes whatsoever. Literally just did a pull without it and then threw it on and did another pull. 40 extra horsepower. Definitely flows really well and is going to help a lot with keeping those intake air temps down and getting as much power out of this bone stock GSR as we possibly can. Next is a couple extra axles just in case, one of each, and we also need a jack and jack stands. Can't forget brake cleaner and some shop towels. Almost forgot my helmet, and I'm bringing my fire suit just in case. As I showed you guys earlier, the car is tracking perfectly straight, but the steering wheel is off by like that much when driving straight. I'm gonna just unbolt the wheel, unbolt the hub, shift the hub over one tooth to the left, and then bolt it all back up. That way the car is driving straight and the steering wheel is straight. I like this wheel a lot. I have a Sparco wheel in my 8th gen, and this one is by far my favorite steering wheel that I've ever laid my hands on. I've driven Mercedes AMG G63s, I've driven a Lamborghini Huracan, and I absolutely love the way that this wheel feels in my hands. It's freaking awesome. Every dollar spent on Throtl right now is an entry for a chance to win their Honda S2000 plus $20,000 cash. And I'll tell you what, having a chance to win an S2000 and 20 grand just by purchasing a steering wheel that's gonna make your car better. It sounds too good to be true, but I promise it's not. That's a heck of a deal. Link in the description down below to this exact steering wheel on Throtl. Let's get this hub off. All right, quick, greasy, 1 or 2 teeth over, and I think we're gonna be dead on. Oh, that's gonna be perfect. All right, the next thing on my list is going to be to load up the kill tune. Right now, if you guys remember, the car is running on a street tune that Mikey put together for me a couple of months ago, but I need to reload the tune from the track in Florida. That tune was pushing over 500 wheel horsepower, and that tune is the reason that I got as close to 10s as I did in Florida. All right, yeah, it was Don't Lift 2. That is the kill tune, Don't Lift 2. Open. Oh man, here we go. This car is now on kill tune and is technically making over 500 wheel horsepower. Hopefully it all goes according to plan. After inspecting this wire, I'm not really seeing any damage to it, so I'm gonna just hope that that was a fluke, and if the car starts overheating on the way up, I will just pull over and wiggle this line a little bit. I'm not finding any physical damage to it. Down to one of the last steps here before we can head to Great Lakes Dragaway to take this thing out to the track and try to go 10s. As I said, I'm driving the car to the track, so if it breaks at the track, I have to fix it at the track to be able to drive it home from the track. I'm trying to bring everything that I possibly can with me to make sure that I'm good. Guys, welcome back to another video. Today we are out at Great Lakes Dragaway out here in Union Grove, Wisconsin.
It's alive! Oh, it's alive! It's alive! It's alive! It's alive! Oh, in the name of God! Now I know what it feels like to be